I am Todd Obert, President and CEO of Productive Corporation. Joined alongside me virtually and emotionally, Josh Daggs, Technical Sales Engineer for GFI. We've heard some of you get dizzy from Patch Tuesday. It's dizzying with what comes and gets thrown at you. We're going to try to make that less so, and we're going to talk about third-party patching solutions versus WSUS, and we're going to talk about GFI LanGuard. Pretty cool stuff. If you have been to our events in the past, you know we're more about technology and less about just showing random PowerPoint slides. That being said, we're going to meet Productive in 1 minute. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about the third-party patch solution versus WSUS. Josh is going to give us, kind of an overview of GFI and how they look at the market and how that works and how that would fit into your world. And we'll have Q&A throughout. Utilize that chat feature, and I'll facilitate questions and make sure that we keep this thing to 30 minutes or less. So if you are ready, and even if you're not, buckle up, let's get going, and let's meet Productive in 1 minute. So who is Productive Corporation? Well, Productive is a security and storage software expert for mid-sized companies. We have dedicated account execs that have specialized expertise that answer licensing and technical questions, so you don't have to wait on hold or navigate the publisher yourself. We have tons of specific publisher content on our website, including trial download links, custom demos, product videos, documentation, everything you might need, all at productivecorp.com. We also produce a lot of third-party content, issues regarding mobile security in the mid-market, things around what's happening with virtual security, why you should be thinking about using the cloud or not, and how that works in your security. All that's at productivecorp.com/content. The bottom line is we have the resources to help you. Help at productivecorp.com, 800-726-4099. We're here to help. And one of the things we do to help is we listen to our customers. They said, hey, we want to hear some real relevant kind of down-to-earth talk about products and pain point solution areas in the marketplace. That's how we came up with our Productive webinar series. And today we're going to be talking about third-party patching solutions versus WSUS. We're a huge advocate. First of all, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to come to a position of like, hey, go either way. I don't really think there is another way to go. I really think it's third-party patching solutions. I think what you get for the value and the time to value is fantastic, right? They support non-Microsoft patches, of course, right? There's a lot of Adobe. There's a lot of other stuff out there that you're going to need. There's, third-party will support those older Microsoft platforms, right? Making sure that, you're running older, unsupported stuff. At least you have the latest patch rev, and they're going to check for you on that. I think there's some other, kind of centralized management and other features that can provide some cost features, right? As opposed to, right, some people are out there, a bunch of people in the market are still running live update. And, I hope you never get breached or have an attack, but when somebody comes down and they want to audit and say, well, how do you know you were patched, right? Well, if you have GFI or a third-party patch solution, you're going to know. You're going to get clean reporting right in. If you don't, it's a crapshoot. You can say, well, we ran it, but you're not sure, or it takes a lot of time to get granular to say which patches have been deployed, and really you're doing it on a one-to-one type basis. Another thing is you got mobile device patching. This is an emerging area that's growing, that GFI's taken a real leadership position on. We think it's absolutely the right way to go, right? People care about their servers and that data, and that's back in the cloud, or it's on an existing server, and then those endpoints are moving all around. It's not just a desktop. It's not just a laptop. It's a phone. It's a tablet. It's a pad, right? It's all those things, and it's just going to continue to extend that way. You're not going to, once we've untethered the masses, we're not going to retether them. So that's what we have going. So I'm very excited to introduce Josh Daggs from GFI LanGuard. He's currently residing down in Clearwater, Florida. We found out recently we both have a love of the NHL hockey. I say go Wild. He says go Lightning. But, you know, that's okay. They're in separate conferences. We can continue to root for each other's teams. He's going to put on a great demo. Really looking forward to it. I'm going to pass it over to him. And why don't you give a warm virtual round of applause for Mr. Josh Daggs. Josh?
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Wonderful welcome and fantastic introduction. I really appreciate that. Again, as you mentioned, we're going to be looking a little bit at GFI LanGuard. There's a lot of good things that are going to come into play, and that's going to be things like, again, primarily going to be focusing on things like your patch management. One of the biggest things you're going to be able to note is that there's a lot of good information right from the start. We're taking a look at the overview. You're going to be able to see things like primary security sensors that are going to come to play right from the forefront, at a glance view, so to speak. Software updates, service packs and roll-ups, things that will come after Patch Tuesday. Another well-known term sort of in the industry is going to be Rollback Wednesday. Things that have things like patches or hot fixes that have to be immediately remediated right after those time frames, and we'll be able to help you keep up with those. Other things also like vulnerabilities, unauthorized applications or applications that have been installed by end users that haven't been approved to be on work machines. Various credential information, malware protection is also another valuable critical piece of security, especially over your various components, servers, and workstations throughout your network, as well as other things like that. So there's a lot of really good information right from the start. It's very easy to find. It'll give you a base idea of your security levels, what your agent status is whenever it's reporting back, and also a very quick, easy to find navigation pane for all of the machines that you're navigating and managing. This can be broken down into various different things, groups as far as what their network role is. As you can see here, we have things broken down into servers, workstations, other machines that may not necessarily be on the domain yet, but they're in a work group, but they're still part of my network, so I still want to be able to see those. Being able to identify that and then getting a lot more granular with things, like getting specific details about those machines that we're going to be managing. The domain that they're joined to, if they're on a domain. As you can see here, we've got a couple of them that are not, but we can still see them and be able to manage some type of deployment there. The operating systems, the last times that we did audit checks, the last time we did deployments for updates and service packs, a lot of really good detailed information right there at your fingertips. We can also look at the various different scanning and vulnerability history, so we can actually go back and look at what our habits and patching and vulnerability assessments were, and then use those as a baseline for what we're going to be doing ahead. So we can actually plan and roadmap different things, especially if we're being a little bit more critical about our Microsoft and third-party patching. It's going to give us a lot of really good information there. We can also scan for vulnerabilities, things that may not necessarily be part of a patch, an update, or a roll-up, but it still has critical impact on your network or the machines that are running there. We can look for things like different ports that are being opened, for instance, or different third-party applications that may have an exploit that you could fix with a patch or by simply limiting certain access to different areas. A lot of really good information above and beyond just your patching. Then, of course, being able to go identify various different patches. Obviously, WSUS does a good job with Microsoft as far as its patching for those particular components. But with GFI LanGuard, you can literally replace WSUS, keep an accurate count and an accurate view of all the things that you're patching for Microsoft, but not only Microsoft, those other big pieces of our corporate networks that we see on a daily basis that aren't exactly those. But we use them every day, things like Adobe, Java, anything like that. We can actually patch for things like that. various different components that you can look at and be able to identify very quickly. We can also look at things like ports, TCP and UDP ports that are open, identify what those ports are commonly used for, and then if there's anything maliciously related to that port, we can also send you notifications letting you know that this is a potential network vulnerability. Being able to keep track of all the different types of applications, not just Microsoft, but a bunch of other third-party applications that would be in the network, whether it be over your workstation, whether it be over some of your central servers that are accessed from your workstations day to day. We'll be able to identify a lot of that information and then categorize those different type of applications for you. Things like patch management software, operating system, and a bunch of other different types of things that we can actually keep track of. And then from that point, give you a lot of valuable information about that stuff. For instance, version, the different publisher, the number of computers that that particular application has been identified on, and then be able to categorize that, and then at that point be able to build out a patch solution for that. Above and beyond that, being able to keep track of the different hardware resources. In addition to being able to patch things like WSUS and third party, we'll be able to keep track of those hardware resources that are impacted by that as well, letting you know what kind of processors, motherboard, memory, including local drives and drive space has been identified on these machines.
And Josh, that's all auto discovery, right? I mean, a machine joins the network and then you see what it has, or how does that work?
That's right. It can be done by several different ways. Once a machine has been added, through that network discovery process, we're running an audit against this machine, looking at all these different things, these different resources. So a lot of this information, once this computer's been attached, we're looking for all this information for you. It's not something that's going to be a convoluted or very tedious process. We do a lot of that from the background, right from the start.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Absolutely. The other thing, too, is you got to think about a lot of network vulnerabilities come in place based on policy. It may not necessarily be an application that's creating a weakness or an exploit, or any kind of physical component that's creating any kind of vulnerability for breach. It may be something simple as a service or a process, or even user login credentials, or even shares for specific things like intellectual property that may have a criticality level that you want to be able to focus on. Well, the other thing we can do is we can actually identify things like administrative and network shares, things where access needs to be restricted. If there's vulnerabilities over things that may be that you have to have credentials or access locked down to over a specific group or specific security group that's within Active Directory, we can actually give you that information as well. So it really goes through a lot. Mm-hmm.
So hey, when you get to this, I'm sure you're going to get to this. Can you talk about how guys will do custom updates like Flash, Java, etc., or is there a login script, all that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. One of the things you're going to find, and this is going to be one of the primary things that you're going to do right out of the gate, is build out a configuration for a scanning profile. Through your configuration section, you're going to be able to build out a profile in order to manage this. And it's not going to be one profile that blankets everything, because nobody's networks are going to be all one machine, all one operating system. You're going to have different things, workstations, server operating systems, among various other things like that. So with the scanning profile editor, you can build out profiles for that specific group of machines, for that specific operating system or third-party applications that it's running. So you're going to see a lot of ability to be able to do not only the Microsoft, as we mentioned, because this can be a direct replacement for WSUS, but a lot of other things. Just to go down the list, just very quickly, things like Adobe, Apache, Apple, Box, Google, any of those other third-party applications that you're going to want to do patching for, you'll be able to find here. Specify the ones that are going to be relevant to you, build out your profile, and now you're scanning things that are relevant to your network. Also, if you need to be able to separate this stuff out to become more efficient for the different types of machine groups that you're building out for. This will also include things like Linux-based boxes. It'll include things such as Mac OS boxes, Microsoft Windows boxes, obviously, but a lot of other things. And we're going to be able to do this not only on servers and workstations, but anything else that would be part of your mobile workforce, such as the notebooks or the laptops or the tablets. We'll be able to do vulnerability assessment and patching for those as well. Once those have been configured, you now have a baseline scanning profile that you can use to set as a guide to get an idea of where you are, what kind of patches are needed or vulnerabilities have been identified, and then use that scanning profile as a remediative report to let you know where you need to do your updates, do your patching, or do your vulnerability changes. Once that's been set, you've got a lot of other options available to you also for things like custom software deployment. Running around trying to do individual installs or relying heavily on GPO to do installs can be a tedious and time-consuming process. With GFI LanGuard, you can actually set it up so that you can deploy custom software directly from LanGuard. So if an application is found to be missing on a workstation or a laptop or something like that, you can actually set it so the next time it scans and finds that this particular application is missing, GFI LanGuard can automatically do the install and setup for that particular application for you. Simply go in to the custom deployment software area, add the location where the MSI, BAT, or executable file can be found, select that, add it to the list, and now it's going to be readily available to deploy whenever it's found missing on those machines. A lot of really good useful information, very easy to navigate. And there's a lot more components. Again, it's not something that we have to tie directly into WSUS4. And a lot of different things out there will rely on that. Even your third-party patching. There's ways of doing that, but it becomes very complicated. It becomes very convoluted, having to tie into other secondary components besides WSUS, like SCCM and things like that. There's a very heavy relationship that you end up having to develop. So you end up investing a lot more IT resources, a lot more money, and a lot more headache time. So GFI LanGuard has been designed and developed so we can remove all of that from you. Give you a nice, easy, effective, and clear way to be able to identify patches and updates that need to be done, and being able to send those out without having to babysit it. Another thing that you'll find is the ability to schedule scans. You don't have to set these out on a manual basis. You can create schedules so that scans can occur over the time frames that you want them to occur, and deploy the different types of patches and vulnerability changes or fixes that you identify when you want them to be deployed. So if you want your workstations to be deployed, patched, and fixed, let's say close of business on every Friday, you can set it up so it'll follow that schedule. If you want your service to be done over the weekend when business is closed, set it up so that schedule will be followed. So this eliminates a lot of that manual labor that you would have to go through in any other typical product. Finally, you have the ability of doing an exhaustive report on any of those patches or any of those fixes that you've identified. And we work very heavily with a lot of other different companies and business verticals that rely on compliance achievements, things like PCI DSS, SOX and GLBA for companies working with finance or fiduciary capital management.
The out-of-box reporting, right? I mean, so you could open up, I'm guessing there's a variety of PCI reports under there.
Exactly right. So for instance, if you were working with financial institutions, there's so many different requirements that we can actually help them adhere to. They can generate the report based on what specifically you're looking for. Very easy to find that based on, even just based on the PCI compliance categories. They can actually go through that and identify what particular scan that they want to run, baseline that off of the PCI DSS compliance, and then whatever the report comes back with, that lets them know where they need to make the adjustments in order to achieve that compliance. And this is going to be true with a lot of other compliance verticals as well. HIPAA for healthcare, FISMA for government type affiliations and different things like that. as well as NERC CIP, which is actually a very big one as far as electrical energy corporations. Cyber threats have become a very big thing in the news here lately, and this is actually one thing that we can use to help complement their compliance to CIP. This will help them achieve those certified compliance achievements. So a lot of really good information there on the reports. If you're not working within those specific verticals, we still give you a very exhaustive library for running things like reports and baseline comparisons for any of the other machines in your network. So a lot of really good information there. And again, this isn't something that has to be a fully manual process. You can actually set these reports up so that they can be scheduled to be delivered at any particular given time. You can also customize these reports so that you're only getting the information relevant to you and your network. And then have these distributed in various different formats. It can be over PDF. It can be in an Excel spreadsheet that you can later import out into Excel and build out your own pivot tables for. So it's a lot of really good information, and it's, again, can be an automated process. This isn't something that you'd have to babysit. So we try and give you robust patching, vulnerability assessment, as well as full reporting on any of the patching or vulnerabilities that you do find. Other than that, again, very simple, very easy to use, very straightforward, and it's not as complicated as having to babysit those other secondary components to achieve that third-party patching there.
That's cool. Now you're going to show me. Can we show that mobile device section? And, or I don't mean to steal your thunder, but.
Oh, no problem, not at all. And again, our primary focus, at least at this point, is to be able to patch things that are related to mobile devices that are used commonly in the workplace, things like tablets, netbooks, notebooks, anything that would be running in kind of Windows-based or Linux-based applications and operating systems that can be patched. But above and beyond that, we can actually go in and do vulnerability assessments based on mobile devices such as Android and iOS. So if that type of device enters into the network, we'll be able to identify any vulnerability weaknesses that would be there, and then be able to recommend any kind of vulnerability change or exploit patch or something like that that would be related to those particular devices. So above and beyond just going and taking care of your local LAN network, things that are on-premise tied to your physical network, we can actually go in and help you maintain security levels over those type BYOD type devices that actually enter into the network as well.
Cool.
Again, any other questions that come up, you're more than welcome to send those out. We'll be more than happy to answer what we can. We've got a very knowledgeable staff here. We can cover LanGuard in much more detail if need be. Again, it's a very robust program that will allow all of those functions to be done over one central console. That's another thing that you'd be able to do. Instead of having to bounce from console to console, RDP session to RDP session, everything can be done centrally.
Yeah. Hey, so Josh, how long does this take to get out and deployed, right, out of the box to running in my environment? What should somebody think about?
Sure. Well, again, some of this is going to be kind of back in IT 101 information to keep in the back of your mind. We've generated all of our GFI products to try our best to make sure that these are going to be very easy, very straightforward to deploy, and usually up and running and ready to be configured within 10 to 15 minutes. So it's not something where you'd have an exhaustive amount of IT resources building out just getting it on and getting it working in your network. So very straightforward. Basic things to keep in mind would be making sure, as any other application that you introduce into your network, make sure you're using proper elevated credentials once those are in place or during that installation process. Also, you want to make sure and keep in the back of your mind that since this type of stuff is writing to the registry, because we're going to be doing things like remote registry access and things like that so that we can get all of that valuable information for you, making sure that any antivirus programs or something that is installed directly on the machine where you're going to be putting your management interface, make sure that that's temporarily disabled during that installation process. Once that's done, simply go back, re-enable your antivirus software or whatever protection you have on that machine, and then of course just add some small exclusions in place. Once that's done, you're up and ready to start configuring LanGuard for your network.
Cool. That is awesome. So with that, I'm going to take back control as we wait for some final questions to come in. Do you have anything else you add before I take back control, Josh, or should I take it away?
No, you're more than welcome. And again, if you have any more questions, you're welcome to reach out to us as a resource. Reach out to Productive as well.
Yeah. So with that, I mean, you take a look at it. It's straightforward. It's powerful. It makes your life easier. One of the things I always look for in technology. Does it make my life easier? So fantastic presentation, Josh. The Productive Corporation account exec will be following up with you. If you have questions, you need to look at a demo. That's the way to really see it. But really quick time to value on this. Thank you so much for taking 30 minutes out of your day. We really appreciate it. We know you got a ton of stuff going on. And thanks for supporting Productive. If we were on the mark, let us know. And if we were not on the mark, please let us know. We put these on for your benefit. Once again, Josh, thank you for a fantastic presentation. I'm Todd Obert from Productive, wishing you a fantastic balance of your day and week. We'll talk soon. Thanks.